All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Coach Talk. We had a change over the winter break where we changed the name of our center from FSU Coach to the FSU Center of Athletic Coaching. And as a consequence, no more FSU Coach Live. Now we're going with Coach Talk Live. So thanks for joining us, whether you're a new viewer, a new listener, or somebody who's been coming for a long time. Welcome back to 2026. My name is Tim Baghurst, and my guest today, starting off 2026, is one of our own students, Coach Jenn Gosline. Jenn, thanks for joining me. Thanks for being in our program. And share a little bit about your story, where you're from, what you do, and how you got there.
Thanks for having me. I am originally from Amityville, New York. I know everybody probably knows the Amityville Horror, but that's where I was born and brought up almost 20 or 48 years ago. It was the blizzard of 78 when I was born. There was 27 inches of snow on the ground. So, yeah, I'm happy to be here in Florida where it's usually warm. But I started swimming at our beach, which was like a mile from our house. It was just swimming lessons, and then we started swim team down there. Come freshman year, my parents put our house up for sale, and we end up moving here down to Lakeland. Sophomore year, right before school started, it's like my summer got cut short. And so the one thing that was my saving grace, because George Jenkins was brand new, was joining the swim team. So I was on the swim team for 3 years. I started, and then I started swimming club down here because club up north was a little bit different. And ended up just loving the program. It was my saving grace coming from New York, coming to this little county where all these big monster trucks were with these, whip antennas. And I was like, oh my goodness, I did not want to be here. I cried for a year before I moved and a year after I moved because I thought I was going back. And then I went through Polk State College and USF for elementary education. And it just so happened to open up my very first year of teaching that this coaching job opened up. And I had already started coaching club for my club team. My club coach is the one that said, hey, I think that you'd be a really good coach. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, and ended up falling in love with the sport. So I started coaching Jenkins my first year teaching, which was 2002. And I have been there ever since. I bleed green and gold. I've been swim coach of the year for Polk County 16 times. And then this year I got the Positive Coaching Alliance top 8 finalists of Tampa Bay. But I absolutely love coaching. I love mentoring new coaches. It's just, I didn't have that mentorship. My athletic director, because I was 22 years old, was like, yeah, you're not going to make it. I still to this day go, I'm not going to make it, huh? I'll be starting my 25th season in July. And I guess that's the story.
I guess the question then, you're obviously a well-established, successful, experienced coach. My first thought was, what are you doing in a master's degree? Why are you taking a master's degree when you've already shown that you can coach?
Well, because there's always more to learn, as well as I have 6.5 years left of teaching. And let me tell you, it's getting harder and harder. I teach 3rd grade. It's the make or break year. You have to pass fast. The commitment of the students isn't there anymore. The commitment of the parents isn't really there anymore. And I figured if I do this, I'd have a leg in maybe to be an athletic director and to finish as an athletic director for at least 6.5 more years of teaching just to get to my retirement. And then my dream job is to own my own aquatics facility and teach kids how to swim, because it is my biggest fear of drowning, even though I've been swimming since like birth. So
within all of that, you talked about things are getting harder. Are they getting harder in coaching too, or is it limited to teaching?
It's definitely coaching too. The commitment isn't there. I know with the pandemic, I had a lot of kids. I would have more than 60 kids on the swim team. I had like 1 fewer swimmers than the football team had football players. But the commitment level, especially swimming, is a tough sport. It uses every muscle group. We practice 6 days a week during high school season because we give them Sundays off, but we come in on a Saturday morning and swim. The commitment for the parents isn't there. I can barely have enough parents to even like have a field of timers, which is really hard because you need those volunteers. You have your core parents that do everything, and then the other parents that don't. You have the kids that just don't want to work hard anymore. I had 3 seniors coming out of COVID quit because they didn't feel like swimming anymore. They didn't feel like it was fun. They didn't want to be there. And I was just like, okay, I'm not going to make you be here. If you don't want to be here, then don't be here. But I think it's commitment all around.
You talked about swimming being a fairly arduous sport, and as somebody who's maybe survived a triathlon or two, I can attest to the misery I experienced in the water, and just trying to get to the end of that part.
You've got to have the swimming down in order for it to work.
Yeah, why do you or how do you recruit swimmers? Because this isn't a glamorous sport. It's not one where there's a lot of team interaction while you're engaged in it. And so for many people, they would look at that and go, well, that looks really boring and really painful. Why would I ever do this? So how do you recruit swimmers to your team?
Well, we have one club team here in town. So that is usually kids from the ages of 5 through 18. And I coached a club team for a while, and it disbanded soon after the pandemic happened. But grooming those kids, because it is such a life sport, we kind of, interact with them. And these littles that I call them would come on the deck and they'd be like, oh, look at what's going on, And so when we did high school stuff, we would invite the parents, invite the kids back. And then through the high school, next month, we have freshman orientation already because the school of choice is open right now. So what we do at Jenkins is the parents can come in, see what type of programs they have. Then we have a job fair in the gym. And what they do is every sport's got a table and you get to talk to the parents, you get to talk to the kids. I have my swimmers come out and talk to them. You can talk to me, great. But if you're getting it firsthand from the kids, it's wonderful. One thing I like to do is I like to do fun things. We did an open water swim in Clearwater Beach this year. We went a mile swim and then a mile run back. And then this weekend, we're actually doing it. We help Rowdy Gaines at his master's meet, and the kids become timers. So they see that, it's a sport, not just for high school, not just as a little kid, but it's a sport for life. Rowdy Gaines' father is actually swimming, and he's 90 years old this year. But I try to have the kids bring a friend with them. We get kids to come out and volunteer to be timers, and they're like, oh, I want to do that. And so what I do in the summertime, my off time, sure, I teach swimming lessons. So I will teach swimming lessons for their kids. I teach adult lessons. So I kind of try to spread the word a little bit here and everywhere.
It's a lot of work.
Yes.
You do. And I've had a lot of conversations, particularly around Florida, about the challenges of coaches in schools, in particular, the lack of financial support for your program, and also the lack of finances in your pocket. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about that in terms of how do you financially provide for a sport that may not get those boosters just coming in and dropping serious dollars on your program. How do you raise the money? What do you do to make sure that your program is financially stable? And then we'll talk about the salary here in a minute.
We do a lot of fundraising. Whether the parents want to write a check or not, that's fine. But we've done a couple different things. I hate car washes. I was in band growing up too, and we were going to Chicago and we did a car wash every weekend from the beginning of the school year till we left. So I don't do car washes anymore. But they have these programs like Activate, where the parents and the kids can go on and make a page, and then they send out emails and phone numbers. It's basically like whatchamacallit, the fundraisers that people do when they need money for medical bills, or if someone passes away. I can't think of what I want to say right now, but it's basically like that. I try to work with all of the parents to do different things, whether they write letters. I have a letter typed up. A lot of the restaurants will do a sponsorship that if the team comes and eats there, they'll sponsor us $150 or so. So we have to work for every penny, and it costs us, because we don't have a pool on campus, $1,500 just to rent the pool.
Then I look at that and I go, well, Jen, you're doing a tremendous amount of work. You're spending incredible hours doing this on top of your teaching job. And I'm betting that you're not making much. Am I right?
No, I make $2,000 for the girls team, $2,000 for the boys team, and like $1,200 comes out in taxes every year. So I think we figured it out one year. It was like 44 cents per swimmer per hour.
Wow. And then I go, why are you doing it?
Because I love the sport. I love the kids. And I absolutely adore George Jenkins. This year, we actually had our biggest rival team combined with our team because they didn't have a coach. So they ended up doing what was a COE. It's like a certified that they could swim at a local school. They could still stay at their school to go to school for their academics, but they could swim with our team. So we ended up getting a couple summers from that, but not many. But swimming coaches are very few and far between right now. So I love the sport. I love continuing spreading the joy that it brought me. And I love my babies. They may be big kids, but I love my babies.
Other people's families with your own, because that's one of the challenges that we typically see in coaching, is just that work-life balance of being able to not only have a full-time job, but then you're doing your coaching, but then you're supposed to be at home with your family. Have you found any?
The thing is with that, I have my parents, but I'm not married and I don't have kids. So that kind of helps with it. But I will say my parents to this day still come to every single swim meet.
That's awesome. That's awesome. From a coach perspective, in relation to parents, in relation to athlete challenges, what are some of the things that you experienced as a swim coach that maybe somebody in soccer or basketball or track and field might not experience? You talked about having to rent the pool as being one of those challenges. Are there any others that somebody who wasn't a swim coach wouldn't be aware of?
I would say getting the support of administration, because we're not on campus. If we are hosting a meet, an administrator is supposed to be on deck, and they sit at the front table where the gate is to make sure that, everything's safe. But other than that, you don't get kids that are coming after school or are still on campus coming to a swim meet. You don't get the teachers that are working late that day to come to a swim meet. They don't get as much support with the off-campus stuff. Then having to deal with city facilities and other teams. And it all gets to be a bit stressful, but I try to look at the brighter picture.
The majority of students, the other teachers, don't even see what you're doing.
Oh, there's some that didn't even know that we had a swim team because we're not on campus. So I make sure I email out all the time. I make sure that I send in announcements just so that way the kids get that notoriety.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like you have challenges. but it also sounds like you found solutions to them. If you could place yourself in an ideal environment where your swim coach as you are now, what would you change in order to make swimming more relevant, in order to make your athletes more successful in the school and beyond the school? What is lacking, I guess, in your environment to make a difference?
I would love to be on campus. You would be able to get so many more athletes because a lot of the time parents can't get the kids from school to our facility that we practice at. So if we were on campus and we could have last period swim class or first period swim class, I think that would be huge in that our teams would just grow. Lake Placid, Sebring, Avon Park, Hardy, they all have their pools on campuses. So the kids can walk just like they would for track, just like they would for soccer, walk from their last class. And if I taught on that property, but I don't, and just be right there. They wouldn't have to worry about that middle form of transportation, which is the biggest, because the biggest question I get at freshman orientation is, how am I going to get my kid to practice? I'm like, well, you can't publicize carpooling because kids are not supposed to be driving other kids unless they're siblings. And said, so a lot of the kids will go home because I don't get out of school till 3:15 and practices start at 3:30. And then the parents are like, well, I'm at work, I can't get them there. So that is my biggest challenge. What did you say? I can't hear you.
Do you have assistant coaches?
I don't. It's just me.
So what happens if, for example, you get the flu?
I'm still there. I don't cancel practice. Thunderstorms got in our way this year. Knock on wood, we had no hurricanes, no rain out meets. It was the ideal season in 24 years. But no, I'm there at all times.
When you think about swimming, you've talked about the facilities being a challenge. I would argue that is a challenge in the sense that you're always obligated to be there as opposed to getting some support. What are some of the, I guess, challenges with coaching swimmers, and what are some of the great things about coaching swimmers?
The challenges, I would say, you get a mix of kids that can swim, can't swim, saw the Olympics, thought, hey, this is going to be easy. Some of them even go, yeah, I swim in my backyard pool. I was like, yeah, you have no idea what you're up against. But I am not the person that does cuts either. I'm the person that will take them and mold them and train them. And I will say, you may not swim much this season, but in the upcoming seasons, you're going to improve that much more. That, I think, getting parents to help volunteer more, and the things that I love about it is it brings a group of kids together because they're all going through the same, I guess you could say, like, torture, because swimming up and down a line with water running through your ears, it gets old after a while. Been there, done that. But I love getting in the pool with them, swimming with them, showing them that, yes, I can still do it at almost 48 years old. But it brings these kids together like nothing else. They hang out with each other before school, after school, during practice, and they're a huge support. I just went down to FIU this past weekend to go see one of my girls swim her senior day. And, I have 24 years of kids that have come through my life, and majority of them have stayed in my life. I can't hear you again. It went out.
Are you still?
Oh, there you are.
Okay. I was just saying, it's one of the great things about coaching is that the connections we make with people who may not be our kids, but in many ways become our kids, surrogate kids, we'll say. All right, just wrapping up, I want you to think a little bit about just coaching in general and what you've experienced. What maybe two or three things would you advise other coaches to learn, to reflect on, to consider in their coaching journey that you've experienced in yours?
Find a mentor, find someone that will walk you through all of the paperwork you have to do, because so many people see the sports side of it. They don't see the administrative side of it. And there's always a lot of questions. Go to clinics, go talk to other coaches. I run the FACA clinic for the Florida Athletic Coaches Association, and I have met so many people through that. And even as an experienced coach, you're still learning little tidbits here, there, and everywhere of, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Let's do that instead. And really work, like if you have a sport that has a club, work with that club sport. Because the way the FHSAA has Florida swimming set up, that state meet becomes an all-star club meet. So if you work well with your club coaches, it's so much easier, and it's easier for the kids, because bottom line is the kids' interest is the best best part of it. And you have to put their interest first. So, try to work with your club coaches. We have coaches that do work with the club coaches. We have some that work against them. And you're just putting the kids and the parents in a really tough spot. Thank you.